The day my oldest daughter slid a stack of papers across my kitchen table and said, "Mom, we just need you to sign this so we can make decisions when you can't," I realized my own children were quietly planning for a version of me that wasn't really alive anymore. And the most frightening part wasn't the paperwork. It was the way they talked about my life as if it already belonged to them. If that sentence makes your chest feel tight, you're not alone. Before I tell you what I did with those power of attorney papers and how it tore our family right down the middle, do me one favor. If you like listening to long, honest family stories while you cook, clean, or just sit and rest, tap the like button and subscribe. It lets this little corner of YouTube know to bring you back every time I share a story like this. Now, let me tell you how I went from, "Mom, we just want to protect you," to, "How dare you give someone else control over your life?" My name is Linda. I'm 71 years old, and according to my 3 children, I am stubborn, independent, and terrible at asking for help. I call it surviving. I grew up in a little Ohio town where you didn't call a repairman unless the house was actually on fire. My father fixed everything with duct tape and prayer. My mother balanced checkbooks down to the penny. If you got sick, you made soup. If you got scared, you took a bath and went to bed. Then, one day, you woke up and realized you'd been promoted from someone's daughter to the matriarch, and everyone was suddenly watching to see how gracefully you handled your own decline. My husband Carl died 10 years ago. Heart attack, quick and cruel. One minute he was complaining about the price of cereal, the next I was standing in a hospital room with a doctor explaining that his heart had just stopped cooperating. Nobody asked me whether to intubate him. There wasn't time. For that, I'm grateful. I didn't have to decide how long to keep him in between worlds. The choice was taken from me. But afterward, the paperwork started. Insurance forms, pension transfers, bank accounts needing new signatures. The language of beneficiaries and next of kin. It reminded me of something I hadn't thought about in decades. How much power we give to pieces of paper with our names spelled correctly. Fast forward to last year. I still live in the brick ranch house Carl and I bought when the kids were little. The neighbors know my name, the pharmacist knows my prescriptions, the guy at the grocery store carries my bags without being asked. I still drive, though only in the daytime. I garden, I bake too many pies and pawn them off on anyone who stands still long enough. I pay my own bills, online, thank you very much. Yes, sometimes I have to squint at the screen and zoom in 3 times, but I get it done. To hear my kids talk, you'd think I was already halfway to the nursing home. My oldest, Karen, lives 20 minutes away. She's the planner. She color codes her calendar and has a folder for everything. My middle child, Jason, is in Florida with his second life and a boat he can't really afford. My youngest, Molly, lives across town and shows up with takeout and laundry detergent when she thinks I'm not eating enough. They mean well, I know that, but there's something about the way adult children say, "We're just worried about you," that feels less like love and more like surveillance. It started small. "Mom, you really should give one of us a spare house key," Karen said one night after dinner. "Just in case." "Just in case of what?" I asked. "Random casserole delivery?" "In case you fall," Molly chimed in, "or you don't answer your phone, or, I don't know, it's just responsible." I rolled my eyes but handed over a key. It made sense. Then it was, "Mom, you should make a list of your medications and where you keep the important papers, just in case." "Mom, have you thought about who would speak for you if you couldn't speak for yourself?" "Mom, we need to talk about end-of-life stuff." End-of-life stuff. I was 70, not 95. I still shoveled my own snow. I still danced in the kitchen when the Temptations came on the radio. But apparently, my expiration date was now the family's favorite conversation topic. Then came the meeting. Karen called and asked if they could all come over on Sunday afternoon. "We just want to go over a few things," she said. Those words should be printed on yellow hazard tape. They arrived like a committee. Karen with a laptop bag, Molly with a folder, and Jason on FaceTime, propped up against the sugar bowl because flights are expensive, Mom. They sat me down at the table. Karen opened her bag, pulled out a neat stack of papers, and pushed them toward me. "Okay," she said, in her best project manager voice. "So, we met with an elder law attorney last week." "An elder what?" I interrupted. "Elder law," she repeated. "They specialize in this stuff. Anyway, she said you really need to get your medical power of attorney and financial power of attorney in place. Otherwise, if something happens, it's a mess. We just want to be protective." There it was, those words again. Something happens. Nothing is happening. I just had a physical. My doctor said I'm boring, his exact word. "Mom," Molly said gently, "if you wait until something is happening, it's too late. We don't want to be fighting in a hospital hallway about what you would or wouldn't want. We need to know who can legally sign things, talk to doctors, pay your bills if you're out of commission for a while." Jason's voice crackled from the phone. "Yeah, Mom, remember when Dad died and nobody could find the life insurance policy for 3 weeks? Let's not do round 2 of that." He had a point, but still. Karen slid a pen across the table. "So," she said briskly, "the attorney suggested naming one of us as your primary medical power of attorney and another as your primary financial power of attorney, with backups. We talked and we thought it made the most sense if—" "We?" I cut in. "You talked without me?" "Well, yeah," she said, looking uncomfortable. "We wanted to present you with a plan instead of overwhelming you with options. We're trying to make this easier." "For whom?" I asked, because from where I'm sitting, it looks a lot like 3 grown children deciding who gets to run Mom when she breaks. The room went quiet. Molly reached for my hand. "Mom, that's not it," she said. Someone has to be the point person. That's how hospitals work. That's how banks work. If we don't decide now, some stranger in a robe will decide later." "Okay," I said slowly. "And who did this little council decide should be in charge of me?" Karen cleared her throat. "We thought it made sense if I had medical," she said. "I'm the closest, I know your doctors, I'm organized. And Jason could handle financial, since he's good with numbers. Molly could be backup on both." Jason puffed up a little on the phone. "Yeah, I already talked to the attorney about what we'd need with the house if you had to go into long-term care. We could probably sell it, put the money into—" "Stop," I said sharply. They all stared at me. "Do you hear yourselves?" I asked. "You're dividing me up like a group project. You're talking about selling my house like it's a broken lawnmower. I haven't even seen those papers, and you've already decided who gets to say when I eat, where I live, whether I'm plugged in or unplugged." "That's not fair," Karen protested. "We're trying to be responsible." "No," I said. "You're trying to feel in control of something that scares you, and you're doing it by taking control away from the one person who has to live or die with the consequences." Molly's eyes filled. "We're scared of losing you," she whispered. "And I'm scared of being trapped in a body that can't talk," I shot back. "Of tubes and machines and being kept alive because no one can decide what to do. I'm scared of being turned into a battleground between my own children." We sat there in the heavy silence of people who love each other and are currently terrible at showing it. Finally, Jason broke it. "Look," he said, more softly, "nobody is trying to hurt you, Mom. We just saw what happened with Dad, and Aunt Joyce, and Grandma. Every time there was a crisis, everyone lost their minds. We're trying to make sure that doesn't happen again, that's all." I took a deep breath. "Fine," I said. "Leave the papers. I'll read them, I'll talk to my own lawyer, and I will decide who gets power of attorney, not you 3 in a group text." Karen looked offended. "We already paid the retainer," she muttered. "Then consider it an investment in your peace of mind," I replied, "not a ticket to the control booth." They left the papers. They left tight hugs and tighter smiles. Jason's face disappeared back into the glowing rectangle. I made myself a cup of tea. I sat at the table with the stack of papers and my reading glasses and felt my heart pounding in my ears. Words like incapacitated, Agent, authority, revocation, boxes to check, signatures to give, decisions to pre-make. I could feel my late husband's ghost standing behind me, saying, "Don't let them rush you, Lynn. This is your life." So I didn't. Instead, I called someone no one expected. My younger sister, Patty. Patty lived an hour away and has been in and out of my life in the way sisters often are, close, then busy, then close again. She's loud, stubborn, and has a way of looking at me that makes me feel 6 years old and 40 years old at the same time. I told her what happened. "They meant well," I said. "I know that. But it felt like they were putting a leash on me before I'd even slowed down." Patty snorted. "Kids love to do that," she said. "They forget who wiped whose backside first." "I don't want them fighting over me," I said, "but I also don't want any one of them holding all the cards. Karen would treat me like a project. Jason would treat me like a spreadsheet. Molly would crumble under the guilt. I need someone who loves me but doesn't need anything from me." There was a pause. "Are you asking what I think you're asking?" Patty said. "I'm asking if you'd be willing to be my medical power of attorney," I said, "and maybe my financial backup, with clear instructions from me. So if something happens, you know what I want, and they don't have to kill each other to the side." She was quiet for a long time. "You know that will not go over well," she said, finally. "They'll feel betrayed." "Maybe," I said, "or maybe they'll feel relieved. They won't have to be the bad guy. They can just be my kids." Patty sighed. "I'll do it," she said, "on one condition." "What?" I asked. "You actually tell them," she said. "You don't wait until they're standing around your hospital bed finding out from a nurse that Aunt Patty's in charge." I winced. "That was the plan," I admitted quietly, "to avoid a fight." "Nope," she said. "You don't hand me a live grenade and then pretend you don't know where the pin is. You want me to be your voice? You let yours work while it still can. Got it?" I got it. I made an appointment with my own attorney. We spent 2 hours going over every scenario I could think of. I told him exactly what I wanted. No heroic measures if I had no chance of meaningful recovery. Pain control, even if it shortened things. Comfort and dignity over more days on a machine. He drafted the documents. We named Patty as my primary medical power of attorney, Molly as secondary, Karen and Jason as informed but not in charge. For finances, we made it simple. A durable power of attorney that would only kick in if I were truly unable to manage, with Patty and the attorney together as safeguards. I signed the papers with a clear mind and a slightly shaking hand. Legally, I was set. Emotionally, I was about to walk into a storm. I invited the kids over the following Sunday. This time, there were no surprise papers on the table, just coffee, cake, and my heart pounding like a drum solo. After we'd eaten, I cleared my throat. "I did what you asked," I said. "I met with a lawyer, I set up my power of attorney, and updated my will." Karen's whole body relaxed. "Oh, good," she said. "That's a relief. So, did you sign the forms we brought?" "No," I said evenly. "I had my own drawn up." Her smile froze. "What do you mean?" she asked. "I mean, I decided who will speak for me when I can," I replied, and I put it in writing, the way adults do. Jason leaned back in his chair. "Okay," he said slowly. "So, who is it? Which of us?" I took a breath. "It's not any of you," I said. "It's Aunt Patty." The silence was so complete, I could hear the refrigerator humming. Karen blinked. "I'm sorry," she said. "Did you just say Patty?" "Yes," I said. "She's my primary medical power of attorney. Molly is backup. You two will be listed as people to be informed, but not as decision makers." Jason let out a low whistle. "Wow," he said. "Okay, that's not what we expected." Molly looked both surprised and relieved. "I'm backup?" she repeated. "Yes," I said, "because you have a soft heart. You'd fight for me, but you'd also listen when doctors said there was nothing left to fight for. Patty has known me since I was born. She knows what I want. She doesn't need me to approve of her." Karen's face flushed. "So you trust your sister more than your own children?" she said stiffly. "This isn't about trust," I said. "It's about roles. I want you to be my kids if something happens, not my judges, not my executioners, not the ones signing the form to pull a tube while looking at each other for permission. I've seen what that does to siblings. It tears them apart." Jason frowned. "You think we'd kill you for convenience? Is that what you think of us?" My chest ached. "I think you're human," I said. "I think you're scared of nursing homes and medical bills and watching someone you love fade. I think you'd fight with each other about what was best for Mom until you weren't speaking. And I think that after I was gone, you'd never quite recover from whatever decision you made." Karen crossed her arms. "And Patty will be some kind of saint?" she snapped. "No," I said. "Patty will be the one following my instructions, the ones I gave her while I was still sitting upright and annoying her. She'll be the one the doctors talk to. She'll be the lightning rod. You'll be free to sit at my bedside, hold my hand, and grieve, instead of arguing over ventilator settings." Molly's eyes were shiny. "I get it," she said quietly. "I actually get it. I don't want to decide when to let you go. I don't. I'd say yes to everything and then hate myself later." Karen whipped around to her. "So you're okay with this?" she demanded. "No," Molly said. "I'm not okay with any of it. I don't want to think about Mom being gone. But if something happens, I'd rather call Aunt Patty than spend the rest of my life wondering if we did the right thing." Jason rubbed his face. "I still feel kind of sidelined," he admitted. "Like we triggered this whole process and then got cut out of the main part." "You're not cut out," I said. "You're protected. I'm trying to protect you from the weight of deciding whether your mother lives. That is not a gift, Jason. That is a burden that will sit on your chest every night for the rest of your life." Karen's eyes flashed. "Oh, so you're protecting us by handing all that trauma to your sister?" she shot back. Patty, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, I'd asked her to be there, at her insistence, finally spoke up. "I'm right here, you know. And for the record, I agreed to this with my eyes open. Your mother and I sat with a lawyer. We talked through every horrible scenario. I know what she wants. I'm not guessing. I'm not choosing based on what's easiest for me. I'm carrying out her instructions. That's it." Karen turned to her. "What if we disagree?" she asked. "What if you and I have different ideas of what Mom would want?" "Then I'll listen," Patty said calmly. "And then I'll do what your mother told me to do. And you can be mad at me, not at each other. I have broad shoulders. I can take it." Karen's mouth trembled. She suddenly looked 10 years old. "It just hurts," she whispered. "I've been the one taking you to appointments, Mom. I'm the one who knows your medications, your doctors, your blood pressure, and now you're saying when it really matters, I don't get a say." I reached across the table and took her hand. "You get a voice," I said softly. "You just don't get the final word. There's a difference. And nothing in these papers changes the fact that you're my daughter, the one who shows up with soup and schedules, the one who nags me about my sodium intake. That matters more day to day than any legal document." She started to cry, quietly, like someone whose heart had been bruised without being broken. "I'm scared of losing you," she said. "That's all this is. I just don't want to be blindsided. I don't want to be shut out. I know, and that's why I'm telling you now, while I'm drinking my own coffee and arguing with you. This isn't a secret. You're not going to find out from a stranger at a nurse's station. You're hearing it from me." We talked for another hour. Voices were raised, old grievances resurfaced and then settled again. By the time everyone left, we were all wrung out like dishcloths. But the truth was on the table. 3 months later, my heart decided to make all of this very real. I was at the grocery store, deciding between name brand and generic cereal, when my chest tightened. A pressure like someone was sitting on me. My left arm went numb. The world tilted. The next thing I remember clearly is the ambulance siren. At the hospital, things moved fast. Tests, monitors, wires. My kids appeared as if conjured. Karen on one side of the bed, Molly on the other, Jason by video call propped on the tray table. "We're here, Mom," Molly kept saying, tears spilling. "We're here." I drifted in and out. At some point, I heard a doctor say, "Mild heart attack, stent, good prognosis if we act quickly." I also heard another voice at the nurse's station. "I'm her medical power of attorney," Patty said, firm and clear. "Here are the papers. Call me into every conversation about treatment, and make sure her kids get updates too." Even half-conscious, I felt something unclench inside me. I wasn't dying, not yet, but I was exactly where we'd all been afraid I would be someday. And it was working the way I'd hoped. The doctors talked to Patty about risks and consent. She relayed information to the kids. They peppered her with questions. She took notes. She made sure everyone understood. When a nurse asked Karen to sign something, since you're the daughter, Karen shook her head. "You need my aunt," she said. "She's the one with the power of attorney." There was a flicker of hurt in her eyes when she said it, but there was also relief. They put in the stent. I woke up in the ICU, feeling like someone had parked a truck on my chest and then kindly removed most of it. My kids hovered, adjusting blankets, fussing with my water cup. Patty sat in the corner with her knitting, a stack of forms beside her. Later, when things were calmer, Karen leaned over my bed. "You were right," she said quietly, "about all of it. The doctors kept asking who should sign. There were 3 different specialists, different options. It was confusing and terrifying. If you'd left it up to us, we would have fought. Not because we don't love you, because we do. Too much. I'm glad Aunt Patty was the one they looked at." Jason's voice came through the phone. "Yeah," he said, "I still don't love that you didn't pick any of us. But watching this play out, I get it. I got to just be your son today, not your accountant. That felt weirdly good." Molly nodded. "I got to hold your hand and cry without wondering if I should be reading fine print," she said. "I'm grateful for that." Patty snorted softly from the corner. "And I got to be the dragon at the gate," she said, which, frankly, I was born for. We all laughed, even me, though it hurt. I recovered. These days, I take more pills and walk a little slower. I still live in my house, though we did put grab bars in the shower and a fancy gadget on my stove that turns it off if it's left on too long. I let Karen set up a medical binder because it makes her feel better. I let Molly throw away my expired mayonnaise. I even let Jason lecture me about sodium like he's suddenly Dr. Oz. But my papers are in order, my wishes are known. My kids know exactly who will be in the hard meetings if and when the time comes. If you're listening to this and your kids are starting to say things like, "We just need you to sign this," here's what I learned. They are not your enemies. They are scared children in grown-up bodies, trying to keep you safe with tools they barely understand. They're also human. Putting them in charge of the most brutal decisions of your life might seem like trust, but sometimes the greatest kindness is taking that weight off their shoulders. If you're listening to this as the child, pushing those papers across the table, remember this too. Your mother spent a lifetime making choices for you. Let her make this one for herself. Ask, don't dictate. Suggest, don't steamroll. And if she chooses someone else to hold that legal power, don't assume it's a rejection of you. It might just be her way of protecting you from pain you can't imagine yet. My kids thought power of attorney was about control. I thought it was about fear. In the end, we learned it was about something simpler and harder. Trusting each other enough to tell the truth before the machines start beeping. And making sure that when the hardest day finally comes, the people who love me get to be just that. My people, not my lawyers.